In Israel tonight, history hangs in the balance. A firebrand minister demands the West Bank, every hill, every valley, be brought under Israeli rule. Abroad, the UAE warns of a dangerous red line. And on the streets of Jerusalem, flames erupt outside Netanyahu's home as hostage families cry for justice. The battle for Israel's future is here. Israel's domestic intelligence agency, the Shin Bet, announced on September 3rd that it had thwarted an audacious Hamas plot to assassinate National Security Minister Itamar Gvir. According to the agency, the cell of operatives, based in Hebron in the southern West Bank, had planned to use explosive-laden drones to target the far-right minister. The suspects were arrested in recent weeks during coordinated operations involving the Shin Bet, the Israel Prison Service and the police. Meanwhile, in a video message released shortly after the announcement, Gvir thanked the security forces for their efforts and declared that the failed plot would not deter him. Gvir, who has long advocated aggressive measures against Hamas and the Palestinian Authority, framed the foiled assassination attempt as further justification for his policies.
I acknowledge the threats against me, and I thank the brave officers of Modi'in Shabas and the Magan Ezra fighters who stand guard and protect me. This is the 6th time the terrorists have tried to assassinate me, and praise be to God, they have failed again. I will continue to act decisively against terrorists in our prisons, to tighten their conditions, to arm Israeli citizens, and to demand the total collapse of Hamas. They will not break me. The people of Israel live.
The Shin Bet did not disclose how far advanced the drone plot was. Israel's far-right finance minister Bezalel Smotrich has unveiled a sweeping plan to annex most of the West Bank, pressing Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to make a historic decision to apply Israeli sovereignty to all open areas in Judea and Samaria.
The time has come to apply Israeli sovereignty to Judea and Samaria, to once and for all remove from the agenda the idea of dividing our tiny land and establishing a terror state in its center.
Standing alongside Israel Gans, the head of the Yesha Council, the umbrella body representing West Bank settlers, Smotrich declared there was now a broad national consensus against the establishment of a Palestinian state. To reinforce his point, he cited former Foreign Minister Abba Eben's description of Israel's pre-1967 borders as Auschwitz borders.
After October 7th, very few still believe Israel can afford to multiply Gaza 20-fold and place it in a territory that geographically and topographically overlooks all our population centers. Abba Eban once called such impossible lines the Auschwitz borders. Our great friend in the White House, President Donald Trump, captured this vividly in his own direct way, pointing to the tiny tip of a tree at the center of the table to show just how small the state of Israel truly is on the map.
Smotrich pointed to the recent passage of a non-binding Knesset resolution in favor of annexation as evidence that a majority of Israelis back extending sovereignty to the territory. He argued that hesitation only invited international pressure, insisting the time had come to reject partition once and for all.
The broad consensus for sovereignty stems from a clear understanding. Israel can never allow an existential threat to take root within. After decades of hesitation, the moment has come to state this plainly and act accordingly. The time has come to extend Israeli sovereignty over Judea and Samaria to remove once and for all the idea of dividing our small land and creating a terror state at its heart.
Smotrich revealed that the Defense Ministry's Settlement Administration had been preparing maps based on this principle, with Israeli sovereignty, God willing, to be applied to around 82% of the West Bank. Palestinians, he said, would continue to run their own lives, but the Palestinian Authority would eventually be dismantled, replaced by what he described as regional civilian management alternatives. Smotrich also threatened the Palestinian Authority with destruction if it resisted.
These are the same voices urging us to surrender to Hamas, to retreat behind walls and let them rebuild. For the next massacre, we are finished with fear and intimidation. If the Palestinian Authority dares to rise against us, we will crush it as we have crushed Hamas. We will not allow a threat to linger at our doorstep. And so I call upon Prime Minister Netanyahu, on behalf of the people, the settlers, the pioneers, the soldiers and civilians who gave their lives, to convene the government and take a historic decision to apply Israeli sovereignty across the open lands of Judea and Samaria.
In his final appeal to Netanyahu, Smotrich urged him to seize the moment.
Prime Minister, when you take this step, soon, God willing, you will be written into the nation's history for generations. You will be remembered as the leader who seized the moment, grasped the opportunity, and freed Israel once and for all from the illusion of partition and the existential threat dressed up as a so-called Palestinian state.
The declaration, made on September 1st, paves the way for potential settlement development, though it overlaps with the administrative lands of Palestinian villages. As Smotrich pressed for annexation, alarm bells rang abroad. A senior United Arab Emirates official warned Israel that such a move would cross a red line, jeopardizing the fragile regional order painstakingly built since the Abraham Accords. Speaking from Abu Dhabi, Emirati Special Envoy Lana Nusseibeh cautioned that annexation would derail prospects for lasting peace.
Annexation would be a red line for my government, and that means there can be no lasting peace. It would foreclose the idea of regional integration and be the death knell of the two-state solution.
Since 2020, Emirati leaders have repeatedly stressed that the Accords marked a strategic, irreversible decision. Yet Nusseibeh's stark language underscored how seriously the Gulf state views the threat of annexation.
For every Arab capital you talk to, the idea of regional integration is still a possibility. But annexation to satisfy some of the radical extremist elements in Israel is going to take that off the table.
Back home, tensions boiled over in Jerusalem as activists set fire to dumpsters, recycling bins, and tires near Prime Minister Netanyahu's residence. One of the blazes engulfed a car belonging to an IDF reservist who had already served 260 days and was preparing for another deployment to Gaza. The fires erupted on the morning of a planned day of disruption aimed at pressuring the government to secure the release of 48 hostages held in Gaza. Police said several vehicles were damaged and residents had to be evacuated, though no injuries were reported. Opposition politicians swiftly condemned the fires while standing behind the broader protest movement.
I condemn the torching of vehicles in Jerusalem, but I condemn much more a government that abandons hostages to their deaths in Gaza.
Blue and White National Unity Chair Benny Gantz echoed that dual message, disavowing violence while backing peaceful demonstrations.
The protests and solidarity with the families of the hostages today are a democratic right and a moral duty of every citizen. Burning vehicles and any form of violence by an unrepresentative minority does not advance the return of the hostages and only harms the determined and important public struggle.
Organisers of the rallies, scheduled throughout the day, also distanced themselves from the morning arsons, which Netanyahu's allies were quick to link to anti-government activists. The episode underscores Israel's volatile domestic climate, where the twin issues of annexation and hostages are fueling both political confrontation and grassroots unrest.